Hello and thanks for joining us on Encore. Coming up on today's film show, Jim Jarmusch shows us the poetic side of New Jersey in Paterson, Isabelle Huppert plays a reluctant chanteuse in Souvenir, and a new documentary turns the lens on Robert Mapplethorpe.
Poem for you.
A love poem?
Yeah, I guess if it's for you, it's a love poem.
Everything was the means to an end to his career.
He was a new type of art.
For all of that, I'm joined by our film critic Lisa Nesselson. Hi, Lisa.
Hello, Olivia.
Well, we're starting with a new release from independent filmmaker Jim Jarmusch, Paterson. Now, at Cannes this year, the jury didn't want to give it too many prizes, but one French magazine said that it should have had the Palme d'Or. Would you agree with that?
Well, this is a very pleasing film with a wonderful off-kilter sense of humor and real heart. I'm not sure it has the heft to take the top prize for posterity, but this quirky tale of a bus driver in Paterson, New Jersey, who sees wonder in the ordinary life all around him and jots down his observations in the form of free verse makes for a wonderful trip to the movies. It stars Adam Driver and Golshifteh Farahani as a young couple of modest means, perfectly happy to live within them, because their lives are enriched not by tangible wealth, but by intangible factors like, love and mutual support and creativity. Jarmusch is a master of the humor of attrition. Nothing much really happens for long stretches of time, and then usually when you're least expecting it, there's a burst of comic energy or an emotional payoff. Let's take a look.
Working on a poem for you.
A love poem?
Yeah, I guess if it's for you, it's a love poem.
I had a beautiful dream. We had twins.
Twins.
Do you think there are any other anarchists in Paterson?
You mean besides us? Not likely.
Without love, what reason is there for anything?
He's not going to do anything crazy.
Everything he does is crazy.
Nobody move!
A bus driver in Paterson. Aha. Aha, what? This is very poetic.
So Paterson, New Jersey is a real place, and it really was the home of poet William Carlos Williams. Always get that wrong. That means some of his fans go on pilgrimages there.
That's right. And if there were a real town called, say, Doggerel or Bad Poetry Falls, I'd like to visit it, and here's why. Nothing rhymes with Jarmusch, that's plain enough to see, but boy, oh boy, did I enjoy his ode to poetry. To routine observation, he's mixed in one fine dog, resulting in elation, built filmic cog by cog. There's hangdog Adam Driver, and Golshifteh is fab. You'll feel real aliver, for life is never drab.
Poetic moment live on France 24 there. Well, our next film is somewhat less wholesome than Paterson. The documentary Robert Mapplethorpe, Look at the Pictures, is out this week in France. The photographer's name summons thoughts of explicit male nudes, so let's take a look at his style.
Robert Mapplethorpe, who spent the last years of his life promoting homosexuality. Now, any senator who thinks that I'm attacking aesthetic art, if they have any doubt, and look at the pictures, look at the pictures, look at the pictures.
He loved to get a jolt out of people, a reaction. It was power.
I always was fascinated with the idea of taking sexuality and bringing it to a level that it hadn't been to before.
So some of those quite forthright images that Mapplethorpe made caused a bit of a scandal in the art world at the time. Does this film tell us why?
Pretty much. We kind of find out why in context. That was Senator Jesse Helms saying, just look at the pictures. And the film does look at the pictures. His work definitely raised issues about what distinguishes art from dirty pictures. Some people think crisp, not at all shy photographs of naked men with rather substantial-looking genitalia are obscene. Silly me, I think that men in elective office telling women what they can or can't do with their bodies, particularly if it has to do with preventing or terminating a pregnancy, is far more obscene. Now, I went to the show here at the Grand Palais in 2014, and while I admire the quality of Mapplethorpe's framing and his admittedly bold artistic vision, I don't think I liked any of his photos as much as I like this wonderful little diorama he and Patti Smith put together out of broken toys toys and scraps of paper before they were famous, this film is elegant and informative, and it tells us that Mapplethorpe was incredibly ambitious. He was devoted to his art, to be sure, but absolutely intent on being famous. He died young, his once beautiful face and body ravaged by AIDS. I think it's particularly poignant that he didn't live to see the scenes in the film where there are two ultra-articulate gallery professionals in Los Angeles using their gleefully pretentious art world vocabulary to assess out loud what they like about some of his photographs. Now I'm paraphrasing, but it goes something like, the spectral plenitude of light and shadow on the outermost ridge of the anus is brilliantly echoed in the use of white space in the upper right-hand corner. Then, the other curator would jump in and say something like, yes, but don't you see the echo of the veins in the leaves painted by the famous monk known as Francis 24th. Whether you like his work or not, Mapplethorpe's trajectory as an artist is fascinating, and this film is riveting.
Okay, well, we're moving from naked men to a fully clothed Isabelle Huppert, starring in her third lead role of this year. This is a Belgian film, Souvenir. Should we be rushing to the cinema to see it?
Walking at a steady pace, maybe. Souvenir is a sweet little movie about the triumph of mediocrity, which makes it strangely appropriate for the present moment, I think. Souvenir dares to think small, and because this small story co-stars Huppert and young actor Kevin Azaïs, it's never less than charming. Featherweight, but absolutely charming. Huppert works on a pâté assembly line in a small factory in Belgium. She doesn't fraternize much. She takes the bus home. She enjoys drinking tumblers of what seems to be scotch, smoking cigarettes, but her bland routine gets shaken up when 21-year-old part-time employee and aspiring boxer Jean figures out that Huppert's Liliane is actually the woman who 30 years earlier almost won Le Grand Prix Européen de la Chanson, which is a thinly veiled reference to the Eurovision Song Contest, using the stage name Laura. Now, flustered, Liliane denies any such thing, but it becomes obvious that the modest factory worker and the once glamorous entertainer who hobnobbed with ABBA are one and the same. So Jean coaxes her into singing just once at a party for his boxing club, but that one step out of obscurity gets a very strange ball rolling. Let's take a look.
Lisa, you mentioned mediocrity. Perhaps that's a bit cruel. Can you be a bit more specific?
Well, I hope nobody's watching because I'll let you in on a secret. Most televised singing competitions feature frightening performances of unnecessary material. Much as more than one generation has grown up thinking that sex should resemble the staged exertions of internet porn. Because of these shows, an awful lot of people think that truly mediocre singing is actually good singing and that adequate to dreadful songs are worthwhile. Now, Laura's long ago hit isn't a very good song, and she didn't sing it all that well, but she did make her mark on the national psyche, and she does work her way up to a pretty catchy ditty, which we just heard her perform there.
Big in Belgium there, Isabelle Huppert. Now, this is actually our final film show for 2016, so I wonder if you might be able to select your top picks in terms of French films this year.
Well, year-end award lists tend to be so arbitrary that they make my hair stand on end. Oh, wait, there might be a genetic component there. But with age, I do get crankier about the sheer randomness of assigning rankings to films or songs or books that happen to have been released between January 1st and the end of any given year. That said, it's been a few seconds since I've spoken about Isabelle Huppert. I hope you'll forgive me for that. But this year, I do have a favorite for Best French Film, hands down, and that is Elle, directed by Paul Verhoeven and starring Huppert as no-nonsense businesswoman Michel Leblanc. Now, like many women, Michelle has a mother, a father, an ex-husband, a son, and professional responsibilities. But that's as much as an oversimplification as saying that Donald Trump has a new job. She is a brilliant tactician of her own life. And her powerhouse personality, you may as well name her sui generis, I swear. Huppert's icy expediency is absolutely thrilling as we get glimpses into what made Michelle the way she is. Her hard heart, sharp brain, and dare I say, moist vagina are connected via narrative barbed wire on which Huppert and Verhoeven never snag. Another film I have not been able to get out of my head since I saw it this summer is Nocturama by Bertrand Bonello. It's this eerie indictment of dead-end consumerism grafted onto would-be revolution with a terrific ensemble cast, half of them professionals, half of them first time. Their unlined faces are intent on redrawing the lines of society, but their youthful conviction meets deadly obliviousness in an urban ballet electric with menace.
And in fact, Elle was Paul Verhoeven's first film in French, that's right?
That's right, that's right.
And he did very well with that. Now, those are pretty high-profile releases this year in France. Have you got anything more up-and-coming, a bit more obscure for us?
Well, if you want obscure, but good, The Sociologist and the Bear Cub, a serious documentary recounted via marvelously silly creative layers. It tackles the surprisingly vehement French protests against legalizing same-sex marriage, using stuffed animals and adorable puppets to mouth the actual statements of newscasters and pundits, and even the co-director's own mother, noted sociologist Irene Terry. It's a parallel universe Muppet movie starring heartfelt felt. And it's now available on DVD with subtitles with English and Spanish. And my associate, Me Too here, agrees that this is a special treat, and I will stake my bad Christmas sweater on it and Me Too's excellent bespoke sweater on it.
A new genre there, soft toys do social phenomena. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us this week. We'll leave you with a clip of The Sociologist and the Bear Cub. Remember to join us in the new year for more film news and check out our website. You can also follow Encore on social media. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.
C'est quand tu me faisais parler de ma famille, non?
Ouais, quand tu me parlais de ta grand-mère, de ta famille, mais aussi de plein d'autres choses. Des évolutions du mariage, des couples homosexuels, de comment on fait les enfants, surtout quand on n'y arrive pas, de l'évolution des mœurs à travers l'histoire, des mères porteuses. En gros, on a essayé de comprendre pourquoi tout le monde en France s'est engueulé pendant 1 an sur le mariage homo.